pronouns. These are my pronouns.
Mappa, Nini, Nopa, Nori, Opa, Pere, Pom-Pom, Zaza, Zizi.
Trixic, toric, feminomoric, viramoric, allosexual.
They, them, theirs.
They're customizable. Anything can be a pronoun, really.
Fat, drunk, and stupid is no way to go through life, son.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Jazz Broganzo here. Another episode of What's Next? Weekend edition, evening edition. Continue our theme of Trannie-Madness. Oof. This comes out of Breitbart. Transgender demands fuel gay conservative alliance. The Democratic Party is demanding that the gay and lesbian people provide lockstep support for the trans activists despite the growing public recognition that trans is hostile to gays, lesbians, and conservatives. Quote, there's a large body of silent opinion among gay men, and many lesbians deeply believe that biological sex differences cherishes and celebrates male and female bodies, does not see gayness as connected to trans experience, wrote gay rights author Andrew Sullivan. Quote, gay happiness depends on owning our own male or female biological sex, not denying it. Oh, do we have a disagreement in the parties? He wrote, at some point, gay men need to face down those trans activists who deny them biological differences in the human body and that make homosexuality possible. Well, that's still questionable. We are not some third sex. We are one of two sexes, men. Our sex is not just in our head. It was not merely assigned at birth. Again, questions. Democratic Party is just pushing us under the water. Natasha Chart, a lesbian activist who opposes the trans ideology. You know they're coming for her, the woke mob. But Christian and conservative groups are reaching their hands out saying, let's save these kids. Don't sterilize these kids. We don't want this harm come to you, she told Breitbart News. I'll take that over the people who agree with me on almost everything politically, but are going to deny a full and healthy life to the next generation of kids like me, she added. The trans ideology insists that government should deny the importance of biological shape in shaping people's politics and personal lives. Instead, Trannie answers, government should champion each other person's chosen sense of quote-unquote gender, which is defined as a sense of feeling male or female, or of the other 78 billion genders, which of course they make up on a daily basis. The focus on feelings, quote, gender, instead of actual biology, gives men who claim to be trans a moral right to claim bigotry. Transphobia, yes, that lovely made-up word. Derivative of course, Islamophobia, as it was 20 years ago when they attacked 9/11. They attacked on 9/11, excuse me. When they feel rejected because lesbians do not want to sleep with them and their male genitalia. The focus on feelings also gives status-seeking K-12 teachers a righteous excuse to groom an effeminate young boy or insecure girl who may or may not be growing up to be gay or lesbian towards a tranny identity, of course, complete with a lifetime of sterilizing drugs, surgeries, loneliness, poor health, and, sadly, suicide. Let's see. Trans non-binary elementary teacher says 3-year-olds are enough to learn about gender identity, sexual orientation, and pronouns. These are the people teaching your children. I'm just going to play a clip with this.
Hi, I'm a queer teacher, and I 1000% do not support this bill. And yes, I do know what's in it. The bill in itself is just another way to stigmatize the LGBTQ+ community. Kids as young as 3 and 4 are actually aware of their gender identity, even if they don't have the language for it.
You're an idiot. The trans view also creates lucrative opportunities for drug companies, doctors, surgeons who feel virtuous about reshaping children's or teenage bodies to mimic their appearance of the opposite sex, regardless of the trauma and the damage being done to these children. The trans focus on feelings also pressures impressionable young journalists and accomplished adults to cheer on the trans man racing in a women's swimming competition. Yes, Liar Thomas. To ignore the multiple hazards of trans therapies and to refer to adult men in dresses as women, well, what we like to call in reality, pedos. Transgenderism is the ideology that says whatever you think it's true about gender becomes true, regardless of that biological reality. Terry Schilling, the president of the American Principles Project, told Breitbart. But the reality and importance of biology are firmly recognized by many gays, lesbians, conservatives, he said. Ultimately, the common ground is that LGB, part of the movement, still believes the concept of biological sex, and that it's directly at odds with the Trannie-Madness. The main divergent point is whether or not parents or teachers should be in charge of your kids' sexual education. Sullivan article spotlighted the common ground among gays, lesbian, conservatives, for example. Sullivan also criticized the pro-trans movement agitprop in K through 12 classrooms. These teaching materials aim to be inclusive in a tiny minority of trans children, 0.003%, representative of the U.S. But they do this in essentially universalizing the very rare experience of being trans, and suggest that everyone's gender is completely independent of biological sex and trumps any conflict. The only way to help trans kids feel better about themselves, the argument goes, is to tell the lie that their experience is everyone's experience. Yes, if I'm trans, so are you. When pushed to defend the idea that humans are not binary, male-female, sexual species, pro-trans, critical theorists, Rossist theorists, of course, that any single exception to the rules completely demolishes the rule. They claim if there are any exception to every human being, male or female, even if they're a tiny variant of the whole, then there is no sex, male, female, binary. For years, conservatives, feminists, lesbians have been working together to oppose the aggressive trans movement. For example, left-wing Women's Liberation Front group has worked with centrist conservative religious groups to protect children and adults. March 31st, the group touted draft legislation to clearly define sex based on biology, male or female, seeks to enshrine law, common definitions of woman, girl, mother, and seeks to codify the intermediate scrutiny standard to allow the law to recognize sex when it's relevant. Gay and lesbians can deal with Christian disagreements over same-sex marriage, Chart said, even as the support of Christian conservatives for children who are same-sex attracted to grow up in healthy bodies is a lifeline. Polls show the public is concerned about the child protection issues, the forced entry of men into women's sports, and trans claims that each person's gender is more important than their sex. Even some transgender activists are alarmed. For example, April 12th report, LA Times, profiled a psychologist who says that he is trans woman and who is alarmed at the rising number of children who claim to be trans. Quote, he's been depressed and anxious since the pandemic began over the past few days. He's shared with me that he's pretty sure he's trans. Yes, because I know I got anxiety because I had the coof, but who the hell cares? Chop off my pee-pee, said one message about a 17-year-old. The first U.S. gender clinic dedicated to youth opened in Massachusetts in 2007. Today, there are more than 60. What does that tell you? Unsurprisingly, ambitious. It's not going to stop. But it's good to see that there is common ground among some. Andrew Sullivan, one of the most prominent and vocal gay activists over the past 2 decades, easily maybe 3 decades, has kind of sort of tasted the red pill, if you will. He has come to the reality that the Trannie-Madness movement is just that, absolute madness, and it must be stopped. And as I said in a prior video, that you have to have parents to step up. Parents must step up. Concerned citizens must step up. Even single adults, male, female, need to step up and to make their voices heard that this shit has to be stopped. Because the tranny train, it's not going to stop. It needs to be derailed. And the only way it can be derailed, sadly, is through legislation like those passed in Florida by one Ron DeSantis. But if you can get a unification of sorts, a truce of some sorts between the LGB and the conservative factions, it's got a good shot. It's got a very good shot. With that being said, I'm Jazz Berganzo. This is What's Next. Want to see more just like this? Please leave a comment below. Like it, share it, subscribe to it. And we'll catch you guys next time. Peace.